Hello all, welcome back again on this Wednesday. It is 3:23 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. This is my third video for today. I don't normally make so many in one day, but this is touchy, this is real, and this is true. This is nothing made up. This is really true. We're going to talk about two divorces I went through and why. First of all, now that when I look back to that painful chapter in my life, in my first marriage, I was young. I got married shortly right after school. Um, I I got held back and failed a grade. I was 19 when I graduated. And I can go ahead and say this, it's kind of personal. Most people don't wait to that special time. They just go ahead and because people peer pressure, they just go ahead and do it. I waited. I was a virgin up until on my senior year, which I was 19, graduating my senior year. I think I got married at the age 20, like a year or two after that, very young. To me, that's young. And during the dating experiences, the whole time I was dating this guy, it was great. He was a gentleman. He opened the car door for me. He opened the doors for me. When he brought me home for my dates, he was actually a gentleman then. But when we finally got married, and not to scare anybody out that's actually engaged or thinking about marriage, it's just letting you know things ain't what it appears to be once you marry them. You really get to know their pros, their cons, which refers their likes and dislikes of certain things or certain people or just whatever it may be. He was very verbal abusive to me. It was just me and him now. We didn't even have our own place. We was living with his parents. You can imagine how marriage is going to work living with your partner's parents. It didn't work so well. His mother was always the gossip type. She wanted to know everybody's business in their marriage as far as other children. She had a great many children. And I'm trying to guess, top of my head, I think she's got, let's see, 5 kids, 7 kids. Sorry. Let's see. There was Mary. Yeah, there's 7 kids. Most of them, all of them are grown, but 2, the last 2. I was the closest to the last youngest. I was actually their sister and brother-in-law, but I felt more like an aunt to them than a sister-in-law to them. We were very close. They would come spend a night with me on weekends, and we would do certain things. We'd tell ghost stories. We'd go for walks. I'd take them out to the park, things like that, when their brother, which is who I was married to, was at work. Back then, I didn't work many jobs right at first back then. And it was kind of hard to work and balance my marriage, going to work and living with his family at their home. There's a lot of friction, a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and I really felt his mom was really jealous of me and one of his sisters. She never liked me. She always told her brother, you could do better. You can find someone else better. We never got along back then. She was just young and didn't understand. When she finally got accepted it and got used to me and her brother being together, she started coming around. She started seeing I wasn't this person that she was trying to make me out to be. I was a down to earth, friendly woman, a wife to her brother, and I could be a friend and a sister-in-law. Finally sees I wasn't bad at the sister-in-law. I'm sitting there thinking, where did she get all these rumors? Who told her these things? Then I started thinking I shouldn't worry about that. That doesn't matter. But to get on to the point, the marriage didn't last. I was only married to this man for 4 years. We got married October the 1st of 1994 on his youngest sister's birthday. That was the part of the youngest one that stayed with me. Her and the youngest brother. He always liked me. He liked doing things with me. He liked teaching me things that he learned in school. He was all about wanting to be a meteorologist when he grew up. That was his dream, to chase storms and stuff like that, you know. The oldest of the sister, me and her was real close, and we hung out. I finally got my first job with her working as an Avon representative. At the time, I didn't have no license, no vehicle. She was my ride. I'd pay her $20 a week worth of gas. Sometimes we would take turns taking each other out to eat to dinner. But most of the time at work, I would cook something and I would take my food with me the next day for my lunch in order to save money, because we had bills and stuff. And you have to put things you want on the back burner when it comes to your bills and your finances. I was really, really strong-minded about managing your money and where your money goes. Well, she liked to spend every Friday. It didn't matter how long, because she was there for 2 or 3 years. She thought she can do this. Every Friday she wanted to get off early so she can go fishing. Go feed the ducks and go fishing. I told her, well, you go ahead, but make sure you pick me up, because I'm not sure I'm going to have a ride that day. This was on a Friday. Well, to speed things along with this story, she didn't pick me up. She was going out drinking with her other work friends from work. I had to call my husband at the time and tell him I need a ride from work. He was furious, because he told me to try to have all that figured out before he had to go to work the next day. That takes time. A lot of people ain't home. Some people are in bed asleep. Some people work different shifts than other people. So I couldn't get the answer right then that morning. He was very furious. He started flipping out and just throwing things and just calling me all kind of names. And I didn't need to hear that. That verbal abuse, you know, it kind of stuck with me. And I know that this kept continuing on, it's going to get worse, and it's going to lead to other dangers like physical abuse. Mental abuse to me to this day is still worse than physical. That scar, that part of chapter in my life is always there. I'm moving on with my life, but it's still there. And the reason why I'm doing a video blog about it is to help inspire some of you all. If you're in a bad relationship, have you been married? Have you went through divorce and experienced what it's like, the pain behind divorce? I've been divorced twice. This is still on my first marriage. I've been in this painful nightmare marriage of 4 years. We had a kid together. The one thing good about this, in my opinion, a lot of people judge this, but this is my true story. This is a pain that I went through in this divorce, and I feel that by me telling bits of it, not everything, because it's really painful, it might can inspire you all to make a choice or decision what you want to do. You don't have to live in an abusive relationship, for number one. Number two, look at its pattern. Is it the same pattern? The same track record? Is there any change? If there's no change, that should tell you something. You need to get out of it immediately. I had a little girl. Both of my daughters are daughters. I had a little girl. I started realizing when my daughter, she was a baby, wasn't getting enough rest at night. Come to find out, she was allergic to her milk. I'd stayed up nights off end walking the floors, pulling her legs in and out. You know, that's the way to release gas when their stomach gets so cramped up and tight they can't release. You know, they're newborn babies. They don't really know what to do yet, you know. And me being a first-time mother, I had to sit there and figure out myself, what to do. I'm frustrated. I'm trying to figure out what to do to help my baby. She's not sleeping. Okay, I take her to the doctor the next morning. They diagnosed it. Go figure. She was allergic to her milk. She had a little bit of fussiness, colickiness, and I figured that out. That was due to the arguments and disagreements that me and her dad had in the marriage. I realized then, I'm a mother. It ain't just me anymore. This affects my kid, our child. I got to get out and do what's best for me, the safety of me and my daughter. So that's what I did. I finally woke up after 4 years. That was even too long. 4 years of nightmare of marriage, pretty much. Verbal abuse, abusive. He didn't have much to do with our daughter, when she was small, because his excuse was, I had to get up and work. I work long hours. But I'm looking at it my point of view. We're both parents. We both helped create this child. We both should help tend to it and go through all the losing sleep and the crying and the fussing. We should go through it together as part of being a family, being a parent. You go through these things together. He didn't want to do that. So it was pretty much me getting up every morning, every night with our baby. If I didn't do it, who would? That baby would have been, or my baby would have been neglected. Who would actually do it? I had no choice. I had to do it. I had to step in and do the mother role and the father role at the time. And the more I kept thinking about it while he was at work, I was trying to plan to find a ways to escape. This man I married used to take the telephones at the wall where I couldn't communicate. I couldn't call nobody. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a license now. I'm out in the country, maybe 45 to an hour, minutes away from certain places where I was living at the time. And the person who I didn't want to call, I called. And guess who it was? She was my supporter from day one. Out of anybody in my family or his, she was my rock. It was my mother. I couldn't call her at that first round when we had arguments and fights. I couldn't call her. I took a risk and I walked. I certainly did. And when some of you's thinking, well, where's your baby at? I took my baby with me that day, only choice. I couldn't leave her there in the house by herself. Come on now. I took my baby and I walked to the closest store that had a phone. Trying to keep my posture here. That walk and that risk I took was everything. And not only that, carrying my baby, carrying a diaper bag for everything that she has to have, milk, diapers, diaper rash, cream, stuff like that. I took all that and carried her. And I walked to the nearest store that had a phone, which luckily and thankfully it wasn't maybe 5 or 10 minutes from my home at the time to that store. It was kind of walking distance, but still, I had to walk because my husband had to take the phones away so I couldn't reach out to nobody if I was wanting to leave. He was trying to stop me from leaving him. I always had a mind. I've always tried to throw ideas and figure out, okay, this didn't work. Let's try this scenario. Maybe this will work. Always, no matter how painful the situation is, I try to come up with an idea or something to get out of it if I know I need to do it. So I got to the store. I made the call. I knew this man, the owner of the store, for years since I was a teenager. Since I was 15, I was 25 when we had our first child. But like I said, I got married to this man at 20 years old, young. I don't regret having my kid with him because she wouldn't be here today. And she's 21 years old today. But I made my call. I called my mother up. And I had to hurry up and get back to the house because she had no idea that I walked with me and her grandchild walking to that store. She had no idea I did that. Until this day, my mother's deceased. She's been gone for 5 years. I miss her very much. To this day, she has no clue I did that. That was the one part of certain things that I went through, the chapters in my life of my first marriage, that she had no clue and knew about. Time went by. I had my stuff packed, ready. No questions asked. She opened the trunk up of her car and she helped me load it up. I didn't leave him no note. I didn't leave him nothing. I took my things, my baby's things, and we packed up and we left. I left. The first time around, don't get y'all confused on this. When I left him, I was separated from him, me and my baby, for 11 months. I stayed away from this man for 11 months. At the time, my baby was 8 months old. I left her daddy. I left him when she was 8 months old. She was very young. Doesn't remember anything. I'm sure with the cries and the sort of nightmares she's had when we were still with her daddy might have triggered some of the reasons why she couldn't go to sleep. I mean, I was a beginner's mother. I'm learning as I go. I wasn't born with a manual to tell me this is what you got to do. This is what your baby's thinking. You got to be sure this is what is wrong with this situation. You don't know. So you try different things. You buy books on parenting. You go to certain classes and you learn about it. You have friends that's actually been through the same situation that you went through. They tell you their story. This is the way I learned about it, and it's painful. Some of the friends I went through. It's painful. But yeah, I finally got out of that. I was gone for 11 months, and y'all gonna probably stomp on my toe on this story here. Why? How'd I get so naive and fall for this? I don't know to this day. Some people say a guy's got a way they can charm their woman back in her life. Get this, wait till you hear this story. Okay, I done moved out, me and my baby. We moved in my mother. We were staying with her, a nice double wide at the time. Very nice. I kept feeling guilty even though she took us in. I felt guilty because I'm a grown mother. A mother myself of a baby. I'm a mother. And here I am, moved back home with my mother. I felt sense of guilt. I guess that's the way. In which I didn't see that I did anything completely wrong. I knew I had to get out of that relationship because it was toxic. It was dangerous. I had to get away from it. But I'm going to say this, not just to put myself down, but at the time, I'm going to say this. How stupid could I be to reconcile and go back to this man? I reconciled and I went back. This is why I did this. You know, I told you at the beginning of the video of the first deal with problems in my marriage, I was telling you that his mother liked to intervene into our personal life. I mean, she wanted to get personal with everything, ask every detailed question. I told her this is our business. You don't have a right to ask questions, you know, about your son's business or mine. He tells me that his mother jumps in his crap. Now, at the time, I didn't believe any of this. My mind was full of question marks. Why is he so interested in me coming back? I left him. I didn't leave him no note. I took our child when I left. Why does he want me to come back? There must be a catch or agenda here. And they was. He thought by smoothing things along, he thinks, well, let's go take a beach trip. At the time, our baby was still staying with my mother. I didn't want to bring her over there right now till I knew what was going on. She was staying the weekend. We went to the beach for the weekend. Our little girl, which is her name is Sarah, was staying with my mother, which is her Nana. She'd like to go by Nana. 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 She stayed with her that weekend. We went to the beach, her daddy and I, with his mother, his brother, and his wife, which is his mother and daddy, and his brother and his wife. That didn't go too well. I knew it. They tell you if you feel something in your gut to believe it and stand by it. But of course, with me being all tenderhearted and the friendly and the loving, compassionate woman that I am, that just took me over to a blind spot side of me. I get down to the beach and I get set up. Everybody down there wants to team up on me because I left their brother or I left their son. You didn't have no reason to leave him. Everybody gets in arguments. Everybody loses their temper. Boy, I got furious. And you come a mother, you're more like a lion than you ever thought of. All my anger, my protectiveness as a mother, just me being me as a woman, I felt, what's the word, violated in a sense. This man went back and told his whole family our problems, what went on in my marriage. After he's done told her, our marriage, our problems, our business, it's between us. And he went back and told him everything about it. The sister-in-law thought she was going to jump on me and beat my tail. A failed mission on that. I saw her coming. She was trying to hit me from behind. We was all in the motel room. We got set up, got our rooms basically. And this is when all this set up, when they was trying to set me up and team up on me. Little old me now. I'm going against his mother and my sister-in-law. The dad, their daddy, and his brother kind of stayed back and just was listening. They was just feeding their minds and listening to both parties, everything that was going on. Which that part was good at that time. Well, this big 250-something pound girl, at the time I probably didn't weigh 110 pounds then, thought she was going to jump on me. All because I left her brother-in-law and had reasons. Let them have the marriage. I saw her through the mirror. So when she comes running, charging, I move, of course. I grabbed her. That's just a reflex. Because she's swinging, trying to swing at me. I grab her. I hold her neck. And all I did was hold it against that mirror. You think you're going to jump me from behind? And going to try to catch me off guard? That ain't going to happen. But the only thing she did was hit me in the head, in the back of the head with a brush. All that did, excuse me for my language on this, it pissed me off. I laughed. Really, what is a hairbrush gonna do but piss somebody off? Come on now. I look at her. I let go of her. I let go of her. So, there's a lot of witnesses in here. They can use this against me. That might be another setup. I'm doing my little detective work, doing my figuring in my head after all this took place now. All this going on at once. I'm doing this. And my head's hurting a little bit. I might have a little goose egg there. She hit me kind of hard. At the time, it didn't faze me then because I was so mad at why you want to do that. I've always been a good sister-in-law to you. When you needed someone to keep your kids, who kept them? Me. I worked for them. I kept their kids in, which is now my ex-husband's parents' home. I've done that for a while. I enjoyed it. I wanted to see what it's like taking care of little kids, basically before I had my own. I did it both. before I became a parent and afterwards. But make the story short on this deal, they did. They tried to set me up at the beach, team up on me, blame me for everything. I don't say it's all his fault. I mean, I've argued at some point of certain things. Maybe I shouldn't argue about something. But the verbal abuse, the physical, I don't think I had a right to stay in that, and neither my baby had a right to stay in that. That's saying, it's okay to put myself or our child in danger. It's not okay. So I'm telling you all, if you have been married once, or if you in common law, you're shacked up with your partner, you're living with someone, and you notice things ain't the same for when you was dating that partner and you're seeing a pattern that is controlling, they're trying to keep you from communication, which falls in the category of isolation. Get out of it. Don't be stupid and stay in it. Whether you got kids or not, you get out of it. You think of yourself and that child and get out. It's toxic. There's nothing, no good's going to come out of it. As I said, I tried to thought because I thought it was the right thing to do to reconcile my marriage. Because when I was a kid growing up, I've always had a dream wedding. If I ever made it down that aisle, I become a wife. He becomes a husband. We become a family. We create a kid together. I want to stay solid. Keep that foundation solid. It fell. It crumbled. And I think part of the reason why it did, because I was young when I got married. I really didn't take the time to study him like I should have done like I did dating him. I figured, okay, I like this person such and such from our dating life. Why should it change any different when you're married? All things change. Everything. Personality, their looks. And what I've grown to figure out, you ladies, even you men out there, it ain't just the men that abuses the women. Women abuses men too. They do it verbally. They do it in other ways. They try to get them locked up for stupid reasons that ain't true. There's all kind of forms of abuse. If you're with a woman that's constantly putting you down and don't have no belief in nothing you do, get out of it. You're better off single than being with somebody like that. They're selfish, they're obnoxious, and for what I see, they're jealous of your dreams. It tells me they're jealous of your goals and dreams that you want to establish. And I couldn't establish no goals and dreams. Did y'all know in my first marriage, I went through a bad writer's block. I gave up writing for a whole year during all that time that was going on. He caused me to give up my dream. He told me I would never get my book published. He told me I was stupid because I can't get my grammar and all that correct. He literally said these exact words to me. And they stuck with me for the whole time during the marriage. I had to get out of that. I had to turn that negativity back around to positivity. First of all, I am not stupid. Second of all, I have dreams. They're not all fulfilled, but I'm trying to do that. Third, when I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make obstacles. I'm going to struggle along the way, but I'm not going to quit no more. You got to stand that ground. Stand for your beliefs. If your gut instinct tells you this ain't working, then you better get out. Men to the men or to the ladies. This is why I made this vlog on my divorces. Something I never thought I would do. I want to be an inspiration. This is painful inspiration right now, but it's also something that you can learn from. You don't want to put your kids, if you got kids from other relationships, you don't want to put that package in to another package that's abusive. You want to find a strong foundation, someone that's going to accept your package, your pros, your cons, and you work with it together. That is a true, to me, a productive, healthy relationship. When you and your guy, your partner, your lady can actually sit down. You can take a notebook, for instance, and you can take his notebook. His name be's on it, and you write about the pros and cons that you don't like about him. And then on another row or another page, you write about the things you do like about them. What is so positive? What brought your attention? What attracted you to her or to him? And you write about it. And when you get done, you switch them over. You know, it's like they teach you these things that you do in psychology. I had to do this in my class on my senior year. They would line us up, put us in groups, and we'd have to do something like that. We'd say, like, we're blue, we're group green. You got a group red, blue, and green. I'm green. And we pick a partner in our group. Say, I picked Cindy, and the guy picked me. Cindy and Joe. We use them for example. I take Joe's notebook and I write about the things I don't like about Joe. Joe takes my work and write about things he don't like about me. And then we flip over and then we write about the things that's positive about one another. We write them down and then we switch the notebooks. One takes turn reading the other. Then at the end you come up with a total. Who's got the most pros and cons? Who's got the most positivities? The good, the upside. If you got more downs, if you got more negativities than you do your positive, then that tells you in that relationship or with that group or with your whoever it is, you're going to have to work on that. Whatever's causing that negativity, you got to work on it and bring it to the side on the positive side. That's what helps me now. In my second year of marriage, I was in this marriage for 12 years. It was worse than my first marriage, believe it or not. You would think you would learn from your first trial and error and screw ups and painful situations in a marriage. This is in my second marriage. Like I said, the dating went on fine. He was a gentleman. He opened a door. He bought me flowers. He held my hand in public. We had candlelit dinners. He'd get me surprising cards, buy me little chocolate candies, teddy bears, etc., etc., etc. He did all those things. He bought me gifts when we were married. It's not about the gifts. It's about learning your partner and how to accept. There's certain things you have to accept about them even though you don't want to. In order to grow in that relationship, sometimes you have to accept the cons in the relationship. But basically, yeah, these videos are about the painful 2 marriages, divorces that I went through and why. The same with the first. It was verbal. It was physical. He didn't try to trap me where I couldn't go nowhere, but he wouldn't help fulfill my dreams. He didn't support me as being a writer. Neither did my first marriage, ex-divorce marriage. He didn't support me with my work as being a writer. Hold on just one second. I had to shut my door because it's very chilly out there. It was so hot before that I had to cut the heat at the time. Put a little bit of light on the subject. Hope you all can see me better. Does it still bother me when I look back on my first marriage? It bothers me to the fact of where I created a family and knowing the family is bust apart is no more. Because I know some of you and most of you ladies always have a dream or you imagine a fantasy what your first marriage or how you want to be as a mom. You all fantasize and you wonder about that. We all do. We're all a part of that. The second marriage, and both of these guys, I went to school with both of them. Go figure. I went to school with both of these men that I was married to. Both of them were in my second ex-husband was in all honors class. He made straight A's. He didn't have no problems. He had a lot of female friends. Most of his friends were females than males. My first divorce marriage, my first divorce marriage, he was pretty much a loner. He made good grades. He didn't make a lot of friends. He pretty much stuck to himself. That one thing that we had in common, we both liked the libraries. We both stayed in books. That's what helped inspire me to be a writer more, because I like books. I know books don't judge me like people do. I wrote a piece on my allpoetry.com explaining that. It's sort of on that piece, that subject, you know. But my second marriage was just as a nightmare. It got so bad, we was in a disagreement argument. It was just me, him, and Sarah, and he's got another son from another marriage. He was married twice. It had been his third. It was only my second time. Had a son. It was just his son, and then my daughter from the beginning, a part of the life of the story of my marriage. As I said, he bought nice gifts. Everything was fine the first year of the marriage. The second year comes a roller coaster. Everything started going downhill. The communication. He was ill every time he come home. When I'd go ask him what's wrong, I'd always ask, how your day? Same with the other marriage. They didn't want to talk about it. They just want to lash out. Well, why you want to ask me what's wrong? You know I worked a hard day. Why do you care? You wouldn't know nothing about it. You're not even working. I mean, just like that. And I'm being concerned, asking to see if he wanted to talk about it. I got the notion real quick. He didn't want to talk about it. I went on and did my thing. Whether it's writing, going out there feeding my animals, going out there cutting grass in the yard, whatever it may be. I went out to do my own thing. This is my second marriage nightmare, y'all. This ain't the end yet. Very personal, me going live and talking about this. I don't go into very detail on everything because it is so touching and very personal. I've had a teacher. I can think back. Let me just jump back a second here. On my senior year high school, asked me, Melissa, why don't you take all this pain and stuff that you went through growing up as a child and write a memoir about it? I couldn't do it. Back then, at 19 years old, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get my flows right. When I'd start, I'd throw the tablet across the room because I was so frustrated because I couldn't put what words or what topic I wanted to use for that. So I just tossed it aside. And she's like, no, why did you just do that? Her name's Miss Williams. I said, because it's not doing nothing for me. You're having me to write something personal, and I have to relive that. Why should I have to do that? The viewers out there, all they're going to do is judge me and try to cast stones at me. And she looked at me. She said, but Melissa, you're still getting feedback. You're wanting feedback from your fans, your readers. Don't look at the judgmental comments. Look for the positive comments. They got to be some positive somewhere in what you're doing, you know. And I thought, well, Miss Williams, I didn't think of that. So I go grab my notebook and pick it back up. She was nice enough to hand me my pencil back, which I was going to get that. She was a very inspiring teacher. And to this day, I keep her back here and here because she's inspired many people into getting into writing. And I'm not giving the real name, so I'm doing a made-up name as Miss Williams, because she probably don't want, a live vlog video discussing about her, So I'm using a name as Williams, so you all understand. But she was my 6th grade writing teacher. On another video, you heard me talk about the Writers Club. She was the one that told me I should write stuff about pain. I should put it into a story. Get it out there. It might inspire someone. I couldn't do it then. Not even in the 6th grade. Not even on my senior year. I couldn't get my flowing, my thoughts the way I wanted to because I was still reliving those memories. They were still there. I had trouble through school with the math department. Like I said, with the writing, the grammar, the writing stuff. But book reports, getting in front of the room, doing a live book report, writing out the book report, I made A's in it. But sitting there trying to do a resume sitting there, or trying to write an essay or a personal memoir at the time, no, that wasn't happening. I couldn't do it. I didn't have enough confidence. Even though Miss Williams was telling me to do it, within myself, I didn't have enough confidence to do it. I had to learn how to get around all those pros and cons and learn my own way. That is liking myself, loving myself, and getting more confident at no matter whatever I'm doing. But back to the drawing board on my second marriage. It was hell and it was a nightmare. We was on the 2nd year of my marriage. It seems like when we're at the home front, we don't get along. The communication's dull. I feel like every time I ask a question or say something related to him in a conversation, he bites my head off. And I'm like, well, what did I do this time? He's playing like he's always a victim of something. He don't never want to communicate. A relationship, ladies and gentlemen, is not going to work without communication. If you don't have that, it's going to keep dying and dying and until it's no more. You got to be able to have communication. You got to be able to have trust. Those are two main things. We'll get to that soon. We decided to spare the moment thing. I don't know why. Let's go to the beach. So me, my ex, which is now at the time, was my husband then, and his son and my daughter, all 4 of us decided to go haul tail to the beach. Total different attitude, total different scenery. Maybe that was the key. Maybe we need a skate route from the home front. Go on a vacation. Sometimes a vacation away from home is therapeutic, and a different scenery seems to help out. So we go and do that. We go to, of course, Myrtle Beach. I've always liked the beach at one time. Now I'm all for the mountains. I like scenery. I love things as green, different colors, nature. So we went to the beach and we checked out our room. And one thing good about this trip, I enjoyed the memories with, at the time, was my stepson and, of course, my daughter. I love picking seashells with them, going to the shops, going into the jacuzzis, the hot tubs, the pool. We'd go back and forth. I'd be too hot in one, I'd go jump in the other, and they would follow me. That was a really fun moment then. There's one boy, which at the time I was strict on how my daughter approached boys, or boys approached my daughter at the time. He was trying to lie about his age. He was 17 and she was 14. And he introduced himself. He was nice, well-mannered. But I looked at him. After he told me who he was and was telling me he just met her at the pool, my daughter, I look at him and the first thing I say to him, how old are you? He says, ma'am, I'm 17. I say, and look at my daughter. How old do you think my daughter is? 15? 16? She's 14. This ain't going to go nowhere. You can talk and be friends right here, but they're going to be public people around. You're not allowed to be left alone with this young man. He's older than you, and you're very young to be talking to boys like that, to be left alone. I ended it. She was mad at me for hours. She didn't want to go back to the beach with me. She didn't want to go to shots with me. All she wanted to do was stay in the hotel room and pout and cry the rest of the evening. But it took the stepson to come in there and talk to her and explain to her his way, as far as being a guy's approach kind of way to a stepsister. He broke it down and told her why I did what I did. Some reason to this day, I don't understand why she understood his version and understanding why me as a mother, her mom, understand why of her version. Why couldn't she understand what I was saying to her? But anyway, time went on. She finally come around and she said, I apologize, Mama. She hugged my neck. She started crying. I started crying. And she looked at me. She said, but Mama, all my female friends, they have a boyfriend. And I look at it. You're not all your females. You don't know the first thing about this guy. And first, most of all, he's too old. He's 17. He's about to be an adult, 18-year-old guy. You're 14. You're starting to notice boys now. You don't really know enough about them to really date them. She didn't really start dating until she was 16. Other parents are different. To me, it all falls in the category of maturity, how mature they are. How fast they're growing in maturity. Are they having setbacks? Or are they growing? That was the way I looked at that as far as her dating anybody. But this was later on when she got older. But the most problems in my second marriage was her. Every little thing, there was nothing right in his eyes. Everything was wrong. When she was little, she'd take baby dolls. She'd take bowls out because he'd get her to rake the food out to the pets or just rake it out in general. And she would leave the bowl, the spoon outside, or she'll leave a coat or a shirt, piece of clothing. He'd flip out over it. Instead of flipping out, go to her and explain why she should pick this up. Show her. You know, you want to make your yard look clean. People that rise by don't want to see a trashy yard. It wants to look nice. You want your friends to come stay with you one weekend? Keep the yard cleaned up instead of just yelling at her, insulting her everything in the book. That was the way he talked to her. To my daughter, he called her stupid. He called her worthless. Who wants to be with somebody that's going to keep doing that? And she finally kept hearing that so much, she started thinking she was worthless. Started thinking that nobody cared about her, that nobody wanted to be her friend. It took weeks and months to sit her down and just try to get her, if she didn't want to write, to make a story, to draw an outline like a blueprint of a story on her feelings. She didn't do that for a while. It took a few months, but she finally did. And she told me, she said, Mama, you know, having me to draw these bubbles out and make it to a story on my feelings has really helped me out. And now at the age of 21 years old, she's 21. She had a birthday a couple months ago. It was on November the 18th. She has anxieties from all this crap she's went through my marriages, through my divorced marriages. I should have found a better way to control my anger because I was short fused and tempered back then. I've had some flaws. I'd argue a little bit when I shouldn't have. Should have just kept my mouth shut, let him nag, and let it go in one ear and out the other. It wouldn't be a big war. But with this man, he tries to find ways to pick a fight with you. If you didn't argue back or didn't agree or disagree, he would find ways to get you to argue with him. I couldn't take it. I only took so much. So that went on, that and so forth. We finally went on the beach trip. We enjoyed the beach trip. It's just that part to where she liked this older boy and she couldn't be with him because of the age difference. They only saw each other that one time, and she never saw him again. So that tells me this young man had an agenda. He was after one thing. And I'll go and say it live. I don't care. He was after getting in my daughter's pants. And that wasn't going to happen. No, no. This mother hen stepped in. So, but other than that, we enjoyed the beach trip. We had communication. We went out to eat, had a good shrimp and fish dinner. We come back, we all picked a movie. We watched a movie together in the room. I mean, it was really nice. We was together. For once, it felt like we was doing something family-wise. But as soon as the trip ended and we go back to our homebound life, guess what happens? It's not joy, joy, and happy no more. Some of the arguments start back up, but I try to do another strategy. This time I try not to argue with my husband. I try to do it different. I try to be more calm and more understanding. But because he was used to me arguing back with him, he didn't know how to read me on that. He was like, why you being so nice to me all of a sudden? Why are you trying to be more calm? We're usually at each other's throats. We're in arguments. I said, because us arguing is not getting us nowhere. What have you learned off of me arguing back with you? What have I learned arguing back what you had to say? You know, what he had to say. You're not getting nowhere. You're both yelling, screaming. No one's hearing what the other's got to say. That's not communication. That's called lashing out. That's called blaming the other party. You can't do that and expect the relationship to grow and work. It's not going to happen. I've learned that after going through 2 divorces. And I will never, ever get married again because, as I said, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't fit me. I'd rather me and my partner to live together. If it don't work out, good. We'll go our separate ways. Nobody ain't trying to take this off of this person. This person ain't trying to take this person's money or try to take their land. That's what it's all about. People's out to take from people now. Where's the love at anymore? It's supposed to be about love, friendship, communication. They're out to take from the other party. That ain't the way I roll. If I'm in it, I'm in it for family purposes to grow, not to take something from that person. And I'll go and tell you, in both of my marriages, when I walked out, I left everything except my children, what was a gift to me, what I bought, and what was theirs. That's all I took with me. I didn't take no furniture. I could have took part of the house, our double wide. I didn't want it. I left it. I took me and my kids and the stuff, the basics, my gifts, and I was gone. I didn't want to try to take the furniture. Oh, I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to get half of everything you own. Because, you know, relationships supposed to be 50-50. Not this woman. I wasn't out to take. I'm a receiver. I like to give and receive and get feedback. I like feedback, just like, for example, for my videos. I want people to participate, to know this is me. This is really my story. These are the painful events and things that I'm sharing with y'all. And I want it to inspire y'all. It don't have to stay this way. Your life don't have to live in fear of verbal and physical abuse. You can get out of it. And now's the time to do it if you're in it. If your relationship is blossoming, it's going great, good. I give you thumbs up. Keep growing. But if it ain't, men or women or young girls is thinking, oh, I'm mature. I'm 18. I want to go date this 30-year-old. The same difference, the age difference. You might think it's cool when y'all in love and all that. But as you grow and get more used, what I call a comfort zone, you get used to each other, you're going to see a whole different pattern starting to change. You will see it. You won't at first, but eventually, as long as you with them, once you live together, or even once you marry that person, you're going to see it. Yeah, both of my marriages was nightmare. There was some few good traits, few good times, but it was mostly a nightmare. And I have to say, my daughter still turned out okay. My youngest daughter's 12 years old now. Me and her dad split up when she was 7.5, fixing to turn 8 years old. That was painful because she loves both of us. I'm not trying to turn her against her daddy. I don't expect her daddy to turn her against me. We get along as far as the fact of our child that we created together. Other than that, we don't talk. We don't hang around. When I cut my losses from my exes, I cut my losses. So, yeah, it's very painful. And you have to sit back, think it all through, and relive it again in order to figure out what you learned from it. But now I'm going to talk about what I learned from it. I learned arguing with your partner doesn't get you nowhere. You can blah, getting tongue tied now. Blah. You can communicate by talking with regular room voices. You don't have to yell at one another. You can talk with nice, calm voices. Yes, I smoked cigarettes. I quit for 4 years and like a dummy and started back the day after my mama died. It's been hard and her death still bothers me to this day. A lot of people like to say my mother's my best friend. You can't, in my opinion, you can't really be a parent and be your child's friend. Not in that way. You have to be a parent. If you're going to be a parent, be their parent. You make friends at school. You make friends when you go to college. Your parents is your parents. They're the ones that helps guide you through life most obstacle trials that you ever can possibly go through. Your friends can't help you with that like your mother can do. And I was closer to my mother than I am to my dad. I love my dad, but I'm always been a mother girl, always. She was the one that believed in me and told me to keep writing and keep going and don't quit. So, finishing this one book that I got rough draft completed. Now I got to get it polished up and get it finalized, get it final draft. That was one of my goals. And in honor of you, to my mother, I'm going to do this to my mom. Well, I hope you all like this truth story. Maybe I left some few things out that might have confused you and somewhat not through this truthful, painful vlog. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask away while the video is still live streaming, going live now, or you can wait and ask at the end of the video. But please intervene and comment. If you've been through a divorce, comment about it. What was the reasons why you got out? It might be totally different from my story. You might have got out because you realized you was too young. You want to wait longer. It could be abusive. You might have got into it because you wanted to copy your friends. Well, they got married. Dog, they got married before I do. Maybe I should get married. Let's see whose marriage lasts longer. Some people make it out a game. It's not a game. It's real people with real lives and feelings that matter. So don't take marriage and relationship as a game because it's not. It's real life. It's real shit, people. It's real life stuff. So, but if you like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up. Like I said, if you got any questions, comment at the end of this video. And if you feel that you trust me enough that you saw more of my videos from before, today, or a few weeks ago, or however videos back, and if you like it and you trust me, feel free to subscribe my channel. My goal here of the year 2019 is to reach 1,000 subscribers. Come on, all, go push that subscribe button. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, set, go. Hit that like button. Come on, I want to see that subscriber button pour in. This will mean a lot to me. And if you have a video or channel, you subscribed, and you're like me, and you're doing certain brands and vlogs, and you need me to grow your channel more, I'll do the same for you. You just put your name, what you go by on your channel, put the link on your channel below this video, and I'll feel free to come by and support you all. Well, thank you, and once again, have a great Wednesday. evening. It's 4:27 p.m. And I hope you like my true story. It was very painful. It was hard to do this, but it inspired me and I felt I needed to. And I hope that some of the things that I've mentioned, brought to your attention in this vlog video, will inspire you all, ladies and men, because it ain't just for the women. Men get abused as well. Well, take care. Bye now.